A poor mother and daughter cancel their Christmas pie because they have no money. But the billionaire's son grabs her hand and changes everything. The bakery, the sweet spot, was crowded. The scent of cinnamon and sugar filled the air. Christmas lights twinkled in the windows, and people rushed in and out with loaded bags, smiles on their faces, and quick steps. Sarah Collins, 32, held her daughter's hand tightly as she watched everything with a knot in her chest. She had no bags, she had no easy smile. She only had a thin wallet in her pocket and a fragile hope of getting something special for Christmas. "Mommy, look!" Lily pointed to the display case, her bright eyes shining. "The pie with the snowman." Sarah knelt beside her daughter. The little blonde girl, with light hair falling over her shoulders, pressed her nose against the glass. Inside the red cardboard box was a simple pie, decorated with a snowman made of whipped cream, nothing fancy. But to Lily it was magic. "It is beautiful, isn't it?" Sarah forced a smile. "Can we get it?" "I'll see, sweetheart." Sarah got in line. Her hands were sweating. Her heart beat fast. She already knew the money was tight. She had counted it 3 times at home. But maybe it would be enough. The line moved slowly. Lily stayed quietly beside her, but with that sparkle in her eyes that only a child has when they believe something good is about to happen. When it was Sarah's turn, she asked, "The Christmas pie, please, the one with the snowman." The attendant picked up the box and placed it on the counter. Sarah felt a momentary relief. It was right there. It was hers. At least for a few seconds. "That will be $42. The world stopped. Sarah blinked, confused. "42. Yes, ma'am. With the special Christmas decoration." The price went up a bit. Sarah opened her wallet, her hands shaking. She counted the crumpled bills. $23. She had been so sure it would be enough. She had been so sure she could get this for Lily. But it wasn't. She looked at her daughter. Lily was smiling, hopeful, not understanding what was happening. Sarah's voice failed. "I'm sorry. I don't have that much money." The attendant sighed, impatient. "Then I'll have to put it back in the display." Sarah held the box for a few more seconds. Her hands trembled. She wanted so badly to be able to pay. She wanted so badly to see her daughter happy. She wanted so badly not to be the mother who fails at Christmas. But she had no choice. "I'm sorry," she repeated, her voice barely a whisper. Lily looked at her mother. The sparkle in her eyes dimmed, but the little girl forced a smile. A small, sad smile, as if she were trying to protect her mother from her own disappointment. "It's okay, Mommy. We don't need it." That hurt more than anything. Sarah turned her face away to hide the tears that threatened to fall. She couldn't cry here, not in front of Lily, not in front of strangers. That's when a small child's voice came up beside her. "Daddy, to pay for them, Joel, please." Sarah looked down. A boy with dark hair and curious eyes was holding her hand. He looked at her with a serious expression, as if deciding something very important. "Noah, wait," said a tall man, elegant but discreet in appearance, who quickly approached. Ethan Blackwood was 38 years old and carried the weight of a fortune few people knew about. He didn't like to show off. He didn't like the spotlight. He preferred to live out of sight, caring for his son and keeping his distance from the superficial world around him. But at that moment, he saw something that made him stop. He saw a mother holding a pie box with trembling hands. He saw a blonde girl trying to smile even though she was sad. He saw dignity where many would see shame. "Noah, what are you doing?" Ethan asked gently. The boy pointed to Lily. "She wanted the pie, Daddy. Her mom doesn't have the money. Can you pay for it?" Sarah felt her face flush. She wanted to disappear. She wanted to vanish. This was too humiliating. "You don't have to," she said quickly, trying to hand the box back. "Seriously, thank you, but please," Ethan interrupted kindly. "Let me help." He took his wallet out of his pocket and handed his card to the attendant before Sarah could protest again. 42, correct?" The attendant nodded, surprised. The transaction was quick. Ethan didn't even flinch. To him, that amount meant nothing. But to Sarah, it meant everything. When the attendant handed the card back and gave the box to Sarah, she stood still, unsure what to say. I will pay you back," she mumbled, her voice thick with emotion. "No need," Ethan replied with a subtle smile. "It was my pleasure." Lily looked at Noah's father with wide eyes. "Thank you, sir." Noah smiled back. "You're welcome." "Merry Christmas." The two children exchanged smiles. Lily hugged the pie box as if it were the greatest treasure in the world. She held it close to her chest, being careful not to crush it, but tightly enough to show that it was precious. Sarah discreetly wiped away a tear that escaped. "Thank you, truly. You don't know how much this means." Ethan watched the scene in silence. He saw the way Sarah held her daughter. He saw the way Lily smiled, genuinely happy. He saw the dignity of that woman who, even embarrassed, thanked him with her heart. And something inside him shifted. It wasn't pity. It was respect. "Merry Christmas," he said with sincerity. Sarah nodded, still unable to say much. She took Lily's hand and left the bakery, walking quickly as if afraid someone might change their mind. Lily looked back and waved to Noah. He waved back, smiling. Ethan stood still for a moment, watching the two disappear into the crowd. Noah pulled on his father's sleeve. "I did the right thing, didn't I, Daddy?" Alexander placed his hand on his son's head and smiled. "You did more than right, Noah. You did the best thing." As they left the bakery, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about that mother. The way she had held the box, the way she had tried to hide her tears, the way she had said thank you, even though she was broken inside. He didn't know it yet, but that moment would change everything. For him, for her, for the two children. Because sometimes, an act of kindness isn't just about giving, it's about seeing. It's about recognizing someone's pain and choosing to do something about it. And on that day, Ethan chose to see. Christmas Eve arrived with a gentle cold and a star-filled sky. In Sarah's apartment, the lights were few, but there was warmth. The kind of warmth that doesn't come from fireplaces or expensive heaters, but from love. From the effort of doing the best you can with the little you have. The apartment was small, 2 rooms at most. The living room blended with the kitchen, and the old sofa served as a bed for Sarah most nights. Lily had the only bedroom, where she slept in a narrow bed covered with worn but clean sheets. Everything was tidy. Sarah always kept everything clean, even when life seemed to be falling apart. It was a matter of dignity, to show Lily that, despite everything, they had a home. In the corner of the living room, Lily had put up a Christmas tree. It wasn't a real tree. It was made of green paper that she herself had cut out and taped to the wall. Every little piece was crooked, but made with care. She had drawn colored balls with crayons and taped on foil stars that Sarah had saved from some packaging. "It looks pretty, right, Mommy?" Lily asked, jumping in front of the tree. "It looks beautiful, my love." "The prettiest one I've ever seen." Lily smiled, satisfied. She was wearing a simple dress, washed so many times that the color was faded, but she still spun as if she were a princess. The table was set. Sarah had placed a cloth that was once white, now slightly yellowed, but folded with attention. On top, their Christmas Eve dinner, the pie. That pie that almost didn't happen. The whipped cream snowman was a little melted on one side, but still recognizable. Lily had insisted on leaving it in the center of the table as the main centerpiece. Beside it, a bowl of white rice, 2 pieces of chicken that Sarah had bought on sale and seasoned with what she had at home, and a pitcher of juice, diluted enough to go further but still tasting of orange. It wasn't much, but it was what they had. "Shall we eat, my love?" Sarah called, sitting down in the plastic chair. Lily climbed onto the chair next to her and clasped her little hands together. "Can I say grace, Mommy?" "Of course." The little girl closed her eyes tightly. "Thank you for the food. Thank you for the pie. Thank you for the nice boy and his dad who paid for us. And thank you for you, Mommy. Amen." Sarah felt her eyes sting, but she blinked quickly to keep the tears away. "Amen, my love." They ate slowly. Lily talked nonstop about the pie, about the bakery, about Noah. Sarah listened to everything, smiling, agreeing, pretending that everything was fine. But inside, the knot in her chest returned. The rent was late. The power could be cut off at any moment. The fridge was empty, and after that night, the money she had left would last for 3 more days. Maybe 4 if she stretched it well. "Mommy, aren't you going to eat?" Lily asked, looking at Sarah's plate. "I am, sweetie. I'm just enjoying the moment." Lily giggled and went back to eating. After dinner, Sarah cut a small piece of pie for each of them. Lily ate with sparkling eyes, licking her fingers covered in whipped cream. She danced around the living room, twirling with her arms open, singing a little song she had learned at school. Sarah sat, watching. Her heart was divided, half filled with love for that beautiful little girl who could be happy with so little, half broken by worry about tomorrow. But tonight she decided not to think about tomorrow. Tonight, she just wanted to see her daughter happy, and Lily was happy. Across town, Ethan Blackwood's house was completely different, large, modern, elegant, but not overstated. Ethan never liked ostentation. He preferred discreet comfort, the kind of luxury that doesn't need to shout to be noticed. The dining table was huge. Made of solid wood, it could easily seat 12 people. But tonight, only 2 seats were occupied. Ethan and Noah. The table was full. Roast turkey, scalloped potatoes, various salads, fresh bread, imported sauces, sophisticated desserts. Everything prepared by a contracted cook who had spent the entire day in the kitchen. Noah sat in his high chair, swinging his little legs, but he didn't seem very interested in the food. "Aren't you going to eat, son?" Ethan asked, carving a slice of turkey. Noah poked the potatoes with his fork. "I am. But, Dad?" "Yes." "Do you think she liked the pie?" Ethan stopped carving and looked at his son. "Who?" "The blonde girl, Lily. Do you think she liked it?" Ethan put his fork aside and watched Noah. The boy had worried eyes, as if that question were really important to him. "I'm sure she did," Ethan replied with a gentle smile. "And are they eating pie right now too?" "Probably." Noah was quiet for a moment, thinking, "I liked her, Dad. And I liked her mom too. She seemed nice." Ethan nodded but didn't say anything. He had been thinking about them too, more than he cared to admit. Noah went back to eating, but still distracted. Ethan looked around, the plentiful table, the silent house, all perfect, but empty. He thought about the bakery. He thought about Sarah holding that pie box with trembling hands. He thought about the blonde girl with bright eyes trying to smile even though she was sad. He thought about the dignity of that mother who thanked him, even though she was humiliated. 2 worlds. So close geographically, but so distant in reality. Ethan had everything: money, comfort, security. But Noah was thinking about a little girl who was probably eating rice and chicken while they had turkey and expensive desserts. He looked at his full plate and for the first time in years felt something different. It wasn't guilt. It was reflection. It was the perception that happiness doesn't reside in full tables. It resides in genuine smiles, in small gestures, in a pie shared with love. "Dad," Noah called again. "Yes, son." "Do you think we'll see them again?" Ethan was silent for a few seconds. He didn't know the answer. He hadn't planned anything. It had just been a moment, an isolated act of kindness. But something inside him wanted the answer to be yes. "I don't know, Noah. But if it's meant to happen, it will happen." Noah nodded, seeming to accept that. They continued dinner in silence. Ethan ate mechanically, but his head was far away. He was thinking about how strange it was that, on a Christmas night full of everything, he felt so empty. Meanwhile, across town in a small, humble apartment, a little blonde girl danced to the sound of imaginary music, hugged by a mother who did the impossible to keep her happy. And perhaps, at that moment, they were richer than anyone could measure. Because love doesn't fit on tables, it doesn't fit in large houses, it doesn't fit in bank accounts. Love fits in smiles, in tight hugs, in pies shared with gratitude. And on that Christmas night, in 2 places so different, 2 families lived opposite realities, but something had begun. Something small, but real. And neither Ethan nor Sarah knew yet that encounter at the bakery was just the beginning of something much bigger. The days after Christmas were hard. Sarah woke up early every morning, even though she had nowhere to go. It was an old habit from when she still had a job. Now, waking up early only served as a reminder that the day would be long and empty. She had been unemployed since September, 4 months that felt like 4 years. In the beginning, it had been manageable. Unemployment benefits covered the basics. She could pay the bills, buy food, keep things going. But the benefits had run out in November, and December was a nightmare. Now, in early January, reality hit with full force. Sarah did odd jobs when she could. She cleaned houses for acquaintances. She babysat for a few hours. She sold homemade sweets outside the school gate. She handed out flyers in the city center. But nothing was fixed. Nothing was guaranteed. One day she made $20, the next nothing. And that wasn't enough to live on, much less to support a child. On that January morning, Sarah sat at the kitchen table, looking at the bills spread out in front of her, piles of paper with red numbers, late payment notices, threats of power cut-off. The rent was overdue. Her landlord had knocked on the door 3 times. He wasn't mean. He had even given an extra deadline, but patience has limits. The electricity bill had a red warning. 1 more week, and it would be cut off. Sarah had been through this before, years ago, and she knew what it was like. Candles at night, food spoiling, Lily asking why everything was dark. She didn't want her daughter to go through that. The fridge was almost empty. There was half a tub of butter, a carton with 3 eggs, a piece of cheese, enough milk for 2 more days, at most. Sarah picked up an old calculator and tried to do the math again. She added up what she had, subtracted what she owed. The result was always the same. It wasn't enough. She held her head in her hands. Her fingers sank into her blonde hair, pulling lightly, as if physical pain could ease the emotional pain. How had she gotten to this point? She had been a good employee. She worked in a clothing store. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. Until the store closed, sudden bankruptcy. Everyone was let go instantly. Since then, nothing. No interview had worked out. No vacancy had appeared. The market was tough, everyone said so. But knowing it was tough for everyone didn't help at all. Sarah felt tears burn in her eyes. She pressed her lips together tightly, trying to hold back. She couldn't cry. Not now. Lily was in her room drawing. If she heard her mother crying, she would worry. And Lily didn't deserve to carry that burden, but it was too heavy to hold alone. Sarah took a deep breath, trying to compose herself. She looked at the bills again. Maybe she could postpone the electricity for another week. Maybe she could convince the landlord to wait a little longer. Maybe... "Mommy!" Sarah wiped her face quickly and turned around. Lily was standing in the doorway, holding a piece of paper in her hands. Her bright eyes were fixed on her mother, curious but worried. "Hi, my love. Is everything okay? Are you sad?" "No, sweetie. Just tired." Lily walked over to her mother and climbed onto her lap, even though she was a little big for it. Sarah hugged her automatically, smelling the cheap shampoo in the girl's blonde hair. "I drew a picture for you," Lily said, handing her the paper. Sarah took it and looked. It was a simple drawing made with crayons. 2 stick figures, one bigger, one smaller, both holding hands. Above them, a huge yellow sun and a red heart. Below, written in crooked letters, "Me and Mommy." Sarah felt her chest tighten. The tears returned, but this time she couldn't hold them back. One rolled down her face before she could wipe it away. "Did you like it?" Lily asked, anxious. "I loved it, my love. I loved it so much." Lily smiled, satisfied, and hugged her mother around the neck. "So you're not sad anymore?" Sarah forced a smile. "No, sweetie, I'm not anymore." But it was a lie. Inside, Sarah was desperate. She looked at the bills on the table, at the drawing in her hands, at her daughter on her lap. How was she going to solve this? How was she going to manage? Lily jumped off her lap and ran back to her room, happy to have cheered up her mother. Sarah was alone again, holding the drawing tightly. She wanted to be strong, She wanted to believe that everything would work out, but it was getting harder and harder. The money was running out, opportunities weren't showing up, and time didn't wait. Sarah put the drawing on the fridge, held by an old magnet. She looked at it for a few more seconds. Two figures holding hands, a sun, a heart. To Lily, that was the whole world, and Sarah would do anything to protect that world, even if it meant breaking inside, even if it meant holding everything together until she couldn't take it anymore. She went back to the table and organized the bills in order of priority: rent first, electricity second, food always. She had no choice. She had to keep trying, because giving up wasn't an option when you have a 5-year-old daughter who still believes in yellow suns and red hearts. Sarah took a deep breath, wiped her face one more time, and stood up. Tomorrow would be another day, and she would try again. She would always try because she was a mother. And mothers don't give up. Even when the whole world seems to be falling apart. 2 days after Christmas, Sarah decided to do something special for Lily. It didn't cost anything. It didn't need money, but it meant everything to the little girl. The city center was still fully decorated. The Christmas lights were still on, shining on the trees and on the store facades. It was beautiful. It was magical. And it was free. Sarah bundled Lily up in the warmest coat she had, and they went for a walk. The night was cold, but not unbearable. The sky was clear, full of stars that competed with the city's artificial lights. "Where are we going, Mommy?" Lily asked, skipping beside her mother. "To see the Christmas lights, and you'll like it." "Really?" "The beautiful lights." "Yes, my love, the beautiful lights." Lily squeezed her mother's hand, excited. Sarah smiled, feeling a little of the weight lift from her shoulders. At least tonight would be good. At least tonight Lily would be happy. When they arrived downtown, Lily's mouth dropped open. The trees were covered in white and gold lights that twinkled softly. The store windows had elaborate decorations with snowmen, reindeer, and sleighs. Christmas music played through the loudspeakers scattered throughout the streets, and there were people everywhere, walking, taking pictures, enjoying the festive atmosphere. Children ran among the decorations, holding toy light sticks that left colorful trails in the air. Couples strolled hand in hand. Families stopped to take photos in front of the illuminated scenes. "Mommy, it's so beautiful," Lily exclaimed, her bright eyes shining more than the lights around them. "It is, sweetie. Shall we walk around?" They walked slowly, stopping at every window. Lily pointed at everything, asking questions, making up stories about the decorative figures. Sarah listened to everything, smiling, grateful for that simple moment. One window had an electric train circulating through a miniature, snow-covered town. Another had teddy bears dressed as Santa Claus. Lily was hypnotized by each one. "Look, Mommy. That doll is moving." "I see, my love. It's a mechanical figure." "How does it move?" "It has a motor inside it." "That's so cool." Sarah smiled, squeezing her daughter's hand. Moments like these were rare. Moments when she could forget about the bills, the empty fridge, the late rent. That's when a child's voice shouted from across the street, "Lily!" Both turned at the same time. Noah was standing on the opposite sidewalk, pointing at them with wide eyes. Next to him, Ethan held his son's hand, looking surprised. Lily let go of her mother's hand and waved vigorously. "Noah!" The boy looked at his father, pulling on his jacket sleeve. "Dad, it's Lily!" "Can I go over there?" Ethan looked at Sarah across the street. She waved timidly, feeling her face flush. He smiled and nodded to his son. "You can, but wait for the light to change." When the light turned red for the cars, Noah ran across, with Ethan following close behind with slower steps. Lily ran to meet her friend, and the two hugged like old friends who hadn't seen each other in months. "Did you come to see the lights too?" Noah asked, excited. "I did. My mom brought me." "We came too. My dad brought me. Look, I have a little light." He showed her a blue light stick that blinked. "That's so pretty." The children started talking quickly, both speaking at once, laughing, pointing at the decorations around them. Sarah and Ethan stood still, facing each other, exchanging surprised smiles. "What a coincidence," Ethan said, putting his hands in his jacket pockets. "It really is," Sarah replied, nervously adjusting her hair. "It looks like they're real friends now." "It certainly does. Noah hasn't stopped talking about Lily since that day at the bakery. Lily, too. She keeps asking when she's going to see Noah again." They were silent for a few seconds, just watching the children. Christmas music played softly in the background. Other children ran around holding toy light sticks. The atmosphere was joyful, festive, full of life. "Would you like to walk together?" Ethan suggested, breaking the silence. Sarah hesitated for a second. Part of her wanted to say no. But when she looked at Lily, she saw the happiness in the girl's eyes, and she didn't have the heart to ruin it. "Sure. That would be nice." They began to walk side by side, following the children who ran ahead. Noah and Lily played as if they had always been friends. They made up games, ran between the illuminated trees, and laughed non-stop. "They have so much energy," Ethan commented, smiling as he watched Noah stumble and quickly get back up. "They really do. Sometimes I don't know where all that energy comes from." "Me neither. Noah wakes up early and goes to sleep late, and he's still always like this." Sarah chuckled softly. It was nice to talk to someone who understood, someone who was also a parent, someone who knew the exhaustion, but also the joy of having a child. They walked in silence for a few minutes, just enjoying the decorations. Sarah adjusted her hair again, nervous. She wasn't used to being near men, much less men like Ethan. "Do you live near here?" Ethan asked, trying to start a conversation. "More or less. About 20 minutes by bus." "And you came by bus?" "We did. It's the only option." Ethan nodded, respecting her boundary. He realized that Sarah was reserved, that she didn't like to talk about herself, that there was a wall around her. "The lights look beautiful this year," he commented, looking around. "They do. Lily loved them. She's been talking about it since Christmas. Noah, too. He asked to come see them today. He said he wanted to show the lights to me." "As if you'd never seen Christmas lights before," Sarah said with a smile. "Exactly," Ethan laughed. "But it's different for them, right? It's special." "It is." They stopped in front of a large tree completely covered in gold lights. Lily and Noah stood underneath, looking up, amazed. The tree was at least 15 feet tall, and every branch was covered in tiny bulbs that created a cascading effect of light. "It's so big," Lily said, twirling with her arms open. "It looks like magic," Noah agreed, touching the tree trunk with reverence. Sarah and Ethan exchanged glances and smiled. There was something sweet about that scene, something pure. The children's innocence was contagious. "Want to sit down for a bit?" Ethan suggested, pointing to an empty bench nearby. "Maybe." They sat side by side, maintaining a respectful distance. From there, they could see the children playing. Noah and Lily ran in circles around the tree, chasing each other, laughing non-stop. "She seems very happy," Ethan commented, watching Lily. "She is, even with everything. She manages to be happy." "Everything?" Sarah realized she had let something slip. She looked away, nervous, adjusting her hair once more. "Nothing much, just normal things." Ethan didn't insist. He just nodded, respecting her space. They were silent for a few minutes. The music played, the lights twinkled, the night's cold was gentle, almost pleasant. People walked by, talking, laughing, carrying bags. "Can I ask you something?" Sarah said suddenly, turning to Ethan. "Of course. Are you alone with Noah?" Ethan took a moment to answer. He looked at his hands, thoughtful. "I am. His mother left our lives a few years ago. It didn't work out between us. I'm sorry. No need. It was for the best, for me and for him. She wasn't ready to be a mother. And I learned that it's better to be alone than in a relationship that doesn't work." Sarah nodded. She understood that kind of pain. The kind of pain that comes from relationships that don't work out, from people who leave, from broken promises. "And you?" Ethan asked gently. "Alone with Lily?" "Yes, since the beginning. Her father, he didn't want to know." Sarah's voice failed a little at the end. Ethan noticed, but didn't comment. He just waited, giving her space to continue if she wanted to. He didn't want to be a father, Sarah finished, her voice low. When he found out I was pregnant, he disappeared. Never came back. I'm sorry. Me too. But Lily is the best thing that ever happened to me. So, it was worth it. Ethan looked at Sarah. He saw the strength in her bright eyes, but he also saw the fragility, the way she held everything together alone, the way she tried to look strong even though she was broken. You're doing a good job. Anyone can see that just by looking at her. Sarah felt her chest tighten. No one had ever said that to her. No one had ever acknowledged the effort. Thank you, she mumbled, looking away. They returned to silence, but it was a comfortable silence. The kind of silence that happens between two people who understand each other without needing words. The children came back running, breathless, with red cheeks from playing so much. Mommy, can I play over by those lights? Lily pointed to a group of children playing near an illuminated fountain. You can, but stay where I can see you. Okay. Noah looked at his father. Can I too? You can. But be careful near the water. The children ran off again, joining the group. Sarah and Ethan sat back down, watching. They never get tired, Sarah said, chuckling softly. Never. I'm already tired just watching. Ethan adjusted his son's coat that was left on the bench. He folded it carefully and placed it beside him. Sarah observed the gesture. There was something gentle about it, something paternal. Do you like what you do? Ethan asked. Sarah was surprised by the question. I'm not working right now, but when it was okay. Nothing special, but it paid the bills. And what would you like to do if you could choose anything? No one had ever asked her that. They always asked what she did, where she worked, how much she earned, but never what she liked. I used to like to draw when I was younger. Nothing professional, just for fun. I would draw landscapes, people, things I saw. Do you still draw? No, I don't have time left over, or materials. Ethan nodded. I understand. Sometimes life doesn't leave room for what we like. That's true. We end up doing what we have to, not what we want. Sarah looked at the children. Lily was laughing, running with Noah, completely happy, and that was what mattered. What about you? Sarah asked. Do you like what you do? Ethan gave a subtle, almost melancholic smile. It's complicated. I work in business, investments. It pays well, but it's not what I always dreamed of doing. And what did you dream of? He thought for a moment. Architecture. I liked drawing houses, buildings, planning spaces, creating places where people could live well. But life took another path. Sarah smiled. So we have that in common. We both gave up drawing. Ethan chuckled softly. That's true. Maybe one day we'll go back. Maybe when we have spare time. When we have spare time, he repeated. They continued talking for a longer time. About the children, and how amazing it was to see the world through their eyes. About how hard it was to raise children alone, but also how rewarding it was. Ethan talked about how Noah was afraid of the dark, and how they had created a ritual of counting stars before bed. Sarah talked about how Lily loved to sing made-up songs, and how she would perform for her mother every night. What does she sing about? Ethan asked, smiling. Everything, about breakfast, about the clouds, about the little birds. Everything turns into a song. Noah does that too. He makes up crazy stories before bed. Lily too. Yesterday she told me a story about a princess who lived in a popcorn castle. Ethan laughed. Popcorn castle? Yes, and the dragon was made of cotton candy. They laughed together. It was easy to talk natural, without pressure. And for the first time in days, Sarah laughed. A genuine laugh. Small but real. Ethan noticed. He saw the way her face lit up, the way her bright eyes sparkled, the way that, for a few seconds, the weight she carried seemed lighter. He saw the strength of that woman, the strength to wake up every day and keep trying even when everything seemed impossible. The strength to smile for her daughter even though she was destroyed inside. But he also saw the fragility, The fragility of someone who has carried everything alone for too long, the fragility of someone who is on the verge of breaking, and he wanted to help, not out of pity, but because she deserved it. Because Lily deserved it. Because no one should carry so much weight alone. The children returned running, tired finally. "Mummy, I'm cold," Lily said, snuggling close to Sarah, shivering a little. "Let's go home then, my love." Noah looked at Lily, his eyes sad. "Are you leaving already?" "I have to go. It's late and it's cold. Will we see each other again?" "Yes." The children hugged tightly. Sarah and Ethan got up from the bench. He picked up Noah's coat and helped him put it on. "It was good to see you again," Ethan said, with sincerity. "It was good for me too," Sarah replied, adjusting Lily's coat. There was a moment of hesitation. Ethan seemed to want to say something more, but didn't know how. Sarah also felt something strange, a desire to stay longer, but also a fear of getting too close. "Take care," Ethan said finally. "You too." They said goodbye. Each went their separate way. Sarah held Lily's hand and started walking toward the bus stop. Ethan stood still for a few seconds, watching the two disappear into the crowd. But something had changed. Ethan couldn't stop thinking about Sarah on the way back home. The way she had laughed, the way she had talked about her daughter, the way she carried everything alone but still found the strength to smile, and Sarah couldn't stop thinking either. About how good it had been to have someone to talk to, about how Ethan had been kind without being intrusive, about how, for the first time in years, she didn't feel completely alone. On the bus, Lily fell asleep leaning on her mother's shoulder. Sarah looked out the window watching the city lights pass. And for a brief moment, she allowed herself to imagine what it would be like to have someone by her side, someone to share the burden with. But then she pushed the thought away. She couldn't allow herself to dream. She couldn't allow herself to trust. Still, something small had begun, something neither of them had planned, but something real. The following days were a marathon of rejections. Sarah woke up early, got Lily ready for school, and then went out to try anything, any job, any opportunity. On Monday, she tried house cleaning. She knocked on the door of 3 houses that had advertised vacancies in neighborhood groups. The first didn't even open the door. The second said they had hired someone last week. The third looked her up and down and said they were looking for someone with more experience. Sarah thanked them politely and left, feeling the weight of rejection tighten her chest. On Tuesday, she went to a parking lot downtown. They had said they sometimes hired people to wash cars. She waited for 2 hours on her feet along with 5 other people. When the manager appeared, he looked at everyone and said, "We don't need anyone today, come back tomorrow." Sarah returned on Wednesday. The manager didn't even show up. On Thursday, she visited 3 small markets. She asked if they needed help restocking products, cleaning and organizing shelves, anything. They all said the same thing. "We already have someone. Come back in January. Maybe we'll hire more people after the holidays." January had already arrived, but no one was hiring. Sarah felt the discouragement grow with every closed door, with every negative answer, with every look of pity. On Friday, she tried selling sweets. She made chocolate truffles with the little sugar and condensed milk she still had at home. She put them in transparent plastic bags, tied them with colored ribbons she had saved. She took them to the gate of Lily's school at dismissal time. She stood there, holding the box with the sweets, smiling at the parents who passed by. Most didn't even look. Some looked with suspicion. 3 people bought, only 3. She sold 3 small bags, $6. It wasn't enough for anything. Sarah put the box away and returned home with a knot in her throat. The ingredients for the sweets had cost more than she had managed to sell. On Saturday, she picked up flyers for a pizza place. They paid $5 an hour. It wasn't much, but it was something. Sarah stood on the busiest corner of the neighborhood, handing out flyers to passers-by. Most completely ignored her. Some took them out of politeness and threw them away on the next corner. One woman complained that she was obstructing the passage on the sidewalk. The sun was hot, her feet hurt. The hand holding the flyers became red and sore. After 4 hours, she received $20, for 4 hours of work under the sun. Sarah returned home with swollen feet and a heavy heart. She climbed the building stairs slowly, each step seeming harder than the last. Nothing was working out, absolutely nothing. She opened the apartment door and went straight to the pantry. She needed to see what she had. She needed to plan what to do with the $20. She needed to calculate how long that would last. She opened the small door and looked inside. Half a box of rice. Very little. Maybe enough for 5 more meals, if she stretched it well. If she made porridge for Lily for breakfast. If she ate less so there was more left for her daughter. A can of corn. Alone on the bottom shelf. Dusty. Pasta. A small package. Half empty. Broken at the bottom of the package. And that was it. Nothing else. The top shelf was completely empty. The middle one too. Only those 3 things were left on the bottom one. Sarah felt her heart clench so tightly that it hurt physically. She put her hand on her chest, trying to breathe. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. But the urge to scream was strong, to cry, to break everything, to give up. How had she gotten to this point? She had done everything right. Always worked since she was 16. Always paid her bills on time. Always took care of her daughter in the best way possible. And yet, here she was, looking at a practically empty pantry. "Mommy!" Lily's voice made her turn quickly. The little girl was standing in the kitchen doorway, holding a drawing notebook against her chest. She was wearing the little blue dress that was already small but still fit. "Hi, my love," Sarah said, forcing a quick smile. "Are you home from school?" "I am." "The grandma on the corner brought me. She said you were working." Sarah nodded. The elderly neighbor always helped when she could. She picked Lily up from school on days when Sarah couldn't get there on time. "Yes, I was working." Lily took a few steps into the kitchen. She looked at the open pantry. Her bright eyes scanned the empty shelves. The little girl tilted her head, observing. She was small, but she wasn't foolish. "Mommy, are we running out of food?" Sarah felt the world crash down. She didn't want Lily to know. She didn't want her 5-year-old daughter to carry that worry. She didn't want her to realize how bad things were. "No, sweetie," Sarah lied, quickly closing the pantry door. "Today's just a little disorganized in here. Mommy will go grocery shopping tomorrow." "But there's only rice in there, I saw it. There are other things too. You didn't see properly because everything is at the back." Lily was silent, looking at her mother with that serious way she had when she knew something was wrong. She wasn't like other children her age. Lily always noticed things. She always sensed when her mother was sad. She always tried to help in her own little way. "Are you tired, Mommy?" Sarah blinked quickly to keep away the tears that insisted on forming. "I am, my love. Just tired. Nothing much." "Did you work a lot today?" "I did. But it's okay." Lily dropped her notebook on the table and walked over to her mother. She hugged Sarah's legs tightly, squeezing as if she wanted to pass on some of her own strength. Her thin arms wrapped around her mother's legs with all the love a 5-year-old child can express. "Then rest. I'll be quiet, I promise." Sarah knelt down and hugged her daughter back. She buried her face in Lily's blonde hair and held on tight. The little girl smelled of cheap shampoo and crayons. She smelled of childhood. She smelled of innocence. "I love you, my love. You know that, right?" "I know, Mommy." "I love you very much too. You are the best thing that ever happened to me, and you are the best mom in the whole world." Sarah felt a tear escape. She wiped it away quickly before Lily noticed. They stayed like that for a few seconds, Sarah trying not to fall apart, trying to be strong, trying to hold on for one more day. Lily trying to comfort her mother in her own little way, even without fully understanding what was happening. When they separated, Lily picked up her notebook again. "I'm going to draw in my room. Do you want me to draw something for you?" "Draw whatever you want, sweetie. Everything you do is beautiful." Lily smiled and skipped off to her room. Sarah was left alone in the kitchen, looking at the closed pantry door. $20 in her pocket, half a box of rice, a can of corn, half a bag of pasta, and a daughter who was starting to notice that things weren't right. Sarah sat down in the kitchen chair and put her head in her hands. Her elbows rested on the table, the weight of the world on her shoulders. She didn't know what to do anymore. She had tried everything, absolutely everything, and nothing had worked. The rent was late. The power could be cut off at any moment. The food was running out, and she saw no way out. Sarah wiped her face with the back of her hand. She couldn't fall apart. Not now, not in front of Lily. Tomorrow she would try again. She would always try. Because giving up wasn't an option when you have a 5-year-old daughter who still believes that her mother can solve everything. But for the first time, Sarah began to wonder how long she could keep going. How long she could keep pretending that everything was fine. How long she could keep being strong. New Year's Eve arrived with a different energy in the air. The entire city seemed to be celebrating. The streets were full of people. Music played on every corner, and there was an anticipation in the air that made even those who had no reason to celebrate feel a little hope. Sarah had decided to take Lily to the central square. It was the city's tradition to have a public party on New Year's Eve, with live music and fireworks at midnight. It was free, and Lily had asked so much to go that Sarah didn't have the heart to refuse. They arrived in the early evening. The square was already crowded. Entire families occupied the lawns with blankets and beach chairs. Children ran among the food stalls. Street vendors offered party hats and colorful horns. Music played loudly on the stage, set up in the center of the square. Colored lights twinkled on the trees. There was a mood of joy, renewal, and anticipation for the new year to come. Sarah held Lily's hand firmly, trying not to lose her in the crowd. The little girl looked at everything with shining eyes. "Mommy, look. There's music. There are lights. There are so many people." "There are, my love. Hold on to my hand, okay?" They found a quieter spot near a tree and sat on the grass. Sarah had brought an old towel and 2 water bottles. She didn't have money to buy food from the stalls, but at least they were there. At least Lily was happy. Lily stood up, dancing to the music, twirling with her arms open. Sarah watched and smiling, trying to forget her worries for a few hours. That's when they heard an excited shout. "Lily!" Lily stopped twirling and looked around. Noah was running toward her, jumping between people, almost tripping over a bag on the ground. He came with a huge smile on his face, waving with both hands. "Noah!" Lily shouted back, running to meet him. The two hugged, as if they had been separated for months. Sarah quickly stood up, looking for Ethan. He appeared right behind his son, walking calmly, wearing a dark jacket and a subtle smile on his face. "Hello again," he said as he approached. "Hi," Sarah replied, feeling her face flush. "It seems like we always run into each other." "It certainly does," Ethan agreed, looking at the children who were already playing together. "They get happy when they see each other." "They do." The children ran in circles, laughing, pointing at the decorations, completely lost in their world. Noah showed Lily something, and she responded excitedly, gesturing with her hands. Ethan looked around and then at Sarah. "Are you two alone?" "We are, just me and her." He nodded, understanding. He was silent for a few seconds, watching Noah and Lily run among the lights. The music continued to play. People laughed all around. The atmosphere was festive, joyful. Then Ethan asked, "Do you have plans for the ball drop?" Sarah hesitated. She had no plans. The plan was to stay there until midnight, watch the fireworks from afar, and go home. But she didn't want to sound pathetic. "We're going to stay home. Watch from the window, probably." Ethan looked at her with a gentle expression. There was something in his eyes. Something sincere. "Stay with us." Sarah blinked, surprised. "What?" "Stay with us," he repeated. "The children would love to see the fireworks together, and it would be nice to have company." Sarah felt her heart race. She hadn't expected that. She didn't know what to say. I don't want to bother you. You won't bother us. Seriously. I brought food, blankets, everything. There's plenty of room." Sarah looked at Lily. The little girl was laughing, running after Noah, completely happy. It was rare to see Lily like that. So free. So much a child. Then she looked back at Ethan. He seemed sincere. No hidden agenda. Just kind. "Are you sure?" "I am." Sarah took a deep breath and nodded. "Okay." Thank you. Ethan smiled. Let's go over there then. I found a good spot closer to the stage. They called the children. Noah and Lily came running, hand in hand, laughing. We're going to stay together, Noah announced, excited, jumping. Really, Mommy? Lily asked, her eyes shining. Really, my love? The children jumped for joy, hugging each other again. Noah spun Lily around and she laughed loudly. Sarah felt her chest tighten with emotion. It had been a long time since she had seen her daughter so happy. They started walking. The children ran ahead, always holding hands, stopping to look at the decorations, laughing at everything. The spot Ethan had chosen was perfect. Close enough to the stage to hear the music well, but far enough not to be overwhelmed. He had spread a large blanket on the ground and set up 2 folding chairs beside it. There was a large cooler and a backpack. Sit down, he offered, pointing to one of the chairs. Thank you. Sarah sat down, still feeling a little out of place. Ethan opened the cooler and started taking things out. Sandwiches, juices, fruit, cookies, even a small cake. I picked up a few things before I came, he explained. The kids will get hungry. You thought of everything. I try to. He offered a sandwich to Sarah. She hesitated but accepted. She was hungry. She hadn't eaten much all day to save the little she had for Lily. Thank you, she murmured, biting into the sandwich. It was simple, but it was good. Very good. Ethan called the children. They came running and sat on the blanket. He handed them sandwiches, juices, and fruit. The 2 ate quickly, talking non-stop, and then went back to playing. Other children joined them, and soon there was a small group running and laughing near the blanket. Sarah and Ethan sat, watching. Music played in the background. Lights twinkled on the trees. The atmosphere was light, festive. There were families everywhere, people laughing, dancing, celebrating. Do you always come to the square party? Sarah asked, breaking the silence. No, this is the first time. Noah asked so much that I couldn't refuse. Lily too, she loves parties. Noah too. I guess they're similar in that. Sarah smiled. They are. They get along well. They were silent again, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was a quiet silence, like 2 people who don't need to fill every second with words. Time passed quickly. The night got a little colder, and Ethan took a blanket from the backpack and offered it to Sarah. Are you cold? A little. Thank you. She put the blanket over her shoulders. It was soft and smelled clean. Sarah felt comfortable for the first time in weeks. The hours passed. The music continued. The children played non-stop. Sarah and Ethan talked occasionally about simple things, but there were also long moments of comfortable silence. When it was 10 minutes before midnight, the host on the stage began preparing the countdown. The crowd was excited. The children returned running, animated. Mommy! Mommy! There are going to be fireworks, Lily shouted, jumping. I know, my love. Stay close to us, okay? Lily and Noah stood in front, standing on the blanket, holding hands. Sarah and Ethan stood right behind, also standing, side by side. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8, the crowd shouted along. The children jumped. Sarah felt her heart race. There was something exciting about that moment, something of a fresh start, of hope. 7, 6, 5. Ethan looked discreetly at Sarah. She was smiling, looking at Lily. There was something beautiful about that smile, something genuine, something he hadn't seen the first few times they met. 4, 3, 2. Sarah looked up at the sky, waiting. She held the blanket around her shoulders. The cold wind blew her blonde hair. 1. Happy New Year! The fireworks exploded in the sky. Gold, red, blue, green, silver lights. The entire sky was lit up. The children screamed with joy, pointing upwards. Mommy, look! Lily pointed up, marveling. I see, my love. Lily held Noah's hand tightly, and the 2 stood there, looking up, completely enchanted. Noah pointed to every different color, and Lily responded excitedly. Sarah felt her eyes sting. It was so simple, so beautiful, so enough. She didn't need much. She just needed to see her daughter happy. She just needed that moment. Ethan looked at her again. This time she noticed. Their eyes met for a few seconds. He smiled. She smiled back. And in that moment, something changed. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't sudden. It was gentle, silent, almost imperceptible. But it was real. Sarah felt her heart open a small space, a space that had been closed for years, a space she had sworn never to let anyone into again. But there it was, opening, little by little. Without her fully realizing it, Ethan felt something similar. He looked at the woman beside him, the mother who fought alone, the woman who smiled even when broken, the person who did the impossible every day. And he wanted to protect that. He wanted to help, not out of pity, but because she deserved it. The fireworks continued for a few more minutes. Explosions of color lit up the sky. Lily and Noah danced, jumped, and laughed. Sarah and Ethan stood side by side, in silence, just feeling. When the fireworks ended, the crowd applauded. The children came running back, talking at the same time about the colors and the noises. "It was beautiful," Lily said, hugging her mother. "It was my love." Noah looked at his father. "Dad, can I play for a little longer?" "You can, but only for a little longer. It's getting late." The children ran off again. Sarah and Ethan sat back down. She still had the blanket on her shoulders. He adjusted his jacket. "Thank you," Sarah said softly, "for everything. For the invitation, for the food, for everything. You're welcome. It was good to have you here. It was good to be here." They sat for another half hour, talking about simple things, about the past year, about hopes for the new year, about their children and how quickly they were growing up. When it was time to leave, Lily and Noah hugged tightly. "Bye, Noah. Bye, Lily. Will we see each other again?" "Yes." Ethan and Sarah exchanged one last look. He smiled. "Take care of her." "I always do." "I know." Sarah took Lily's hand and started walking, but before leaving, she turned and looked at Ethan one more time. "Happy New Year." "Happy New Year, Sarah." They disappeared into the crowd. Ethan stood still watching, with Noah by his side. And for the first time in years, he felt that something new was beginning, something he hadn't planned, something he hadn't expected, but something that, perhaps, was exactly what he needed. And Sarah, walking back home with Lily asleep in her arms, felt the same. Her heart, which had been closed for so long, had begun to open. Just a little bit, but it was enough. 2 weeks after New Year's, Ethan and Sarah met again. Noah had asked to see Lily, and they arranged to meet at the park. The children played on the slide while the two talked on a nearby bench. Ethan noticed something different about Sarah. She was quieter than usual. More distant. Every time he offered help, she recoiled. Every time he tried to get closer, she created an invisible barrier. He didn't understand why. After a few minutes of silence, Ethan decided to ask, "Sarah, why do you always pull back when I try to help?" Sarah tensed. She looked at the children, avoiding his gaze. "I don't pull back." "Yes, you do. Every time I offer something, you become uncomfortable. Every time I try to get closer, you push me away." Sarah took a deep breath. She knew this conversation would come at some point. She just didn't expect it so soon. "It's complicated." "Then explain it to me." Sarah was silent for a long moment. She looked at her hands, nervous. Then she started talking, slowly. "I've been through this before. A man being kind to me, and it didn't work out." Ethan waited, giving her space to continue. Sarah took a deep breath and continued. "I was 26. I worked in a store downtown. He came in one day. He was different, rich, educated, charming. He started showing up every week. Always kind, always attentive." She paused, her voice shaking slightly. "He asked me out. I accepted, and it was incredible. He promised everything. Love, future, stability. He said I was special, that he would take care of me, that he would build a life with me." Ethan listened in silence, his heart clenching. "I believed everything," Sarah continued, her voice breaking. "I truly believed him. He was gentle, polite, attentive. I thought I had found someone real. She wiped away a tear that escaped. Until I discovered the worst. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. He was married. The words came out like a punch. He had a whole other family, a wife and 2 children. He was never single. He never intended to stay with me. He was just using me as a distraction. Sarah covered her face with her hands, trying to control her tears. When I found out, I confronted him, and he called me a problem. He said I had no right to ruin his life, that I had to accept my place and be quiet. Ethan felt anger rising inside him, anger at a man he didn't even know. Anger for everything Sarah had been through. Sarah took a deep breath and continued, her voice almost gone. Shortly after, I found out I was pregnant. Ethan froze. I told him. I called, texted, went to his office. And he disappeared. He blocked my number. He moved out of town. He completely vanished, as if I had never existed. The tears were falling freely now. Sarah wasn't even trying to hide them anymore. I had to go through everything alone. The pregnancy, the birth, the first few months, everything. I was ruined, inside and out, financially destroyed, emotionally broken, and since then, I haven't been able to trust any man again. She looked at Ethan for the first time since she started telling her story. That's why I pull back. That's why I'm afraid. Because I believed before, I trusted before, and they destroyed me. Ethan was silent for a few seconds, processing everything. He felt a tightness in his chest. He felt anger. He felt sadness. He felt an enormous desire to protect that woman from anything that could hurt her again. He turned to Sarah and looked into her bright eyes, which were full of tears. I would never do to you what he did. Sarah looked away. You don't know that. I do, Ethan said firmly. I know because I am not him. I am not the type of man who uses people. I'm not the type of man who runs away from responsibility. I am not the type of man who abandons someone when things get tough. Sarah shook her head, still resisting. That's easy to say now. Then let me prove it, Ethan said, his voice gentle but firm. I'll stay. Even if it takes you a long time to trust me, even if you pull back, even if it takes time, I'll stay. Sarah felt her heart tremble. She wanted to believe him. She wanted so badly to believe him, but the fear was greater. I don't know if I can, she whispered. You don't need to know now. Just don't push me away completely. Give me a chance to show you I'm different. Sarah looked at him. There was sincerity in Ethan's eyes. There was something real there, something she hadn't seen in a long time. But the fear was still there. Deep down, screaming at her not to trust, not to believe, not to open up. I will try, she said finally, her voice low. But it will be hard. I know, and that's okay. They were silent for a few minutes. The children continued playing, oblivious to the heavy conversation that had just taken place. Sarah wiped her face and took a deep breath. I'm sorry for dumping all that on you. Don't be sorry. I wanted to know. I wanted to understand. Now you understand why I am the way I am. I do, and I don't judge you for it. Sarah nodded, still processing everything. She had told him. She had opened the wound she had kept hidden for years, and Ethan hadn't run away. He hadn't judged. He hadn't turned his back. Maybe, just maybe. He was different, but time would tell. And Sarah wasn't in a hurry. She couldn't be, because the last time she rushed, she got hurt too badly. After that conversation in the park, something changed. Ethan didn't force anything. He didn't try to get too close, but he started to help. Discreetly, gently, in a way that didn't make Sarah feel invaded or pressured. In the first week, he offered transportation. Sarah was waiting for the bus with Lily under a light rain when Ethan drove by with Noah. He stopped and rolled down the window. Can I give you a ride? Sarah hesitated. Part of her wanted to say no, she wanted to keep her distance. But it was raining, and Lily was shivering from the cold beside her. Okay, thank you. He unlocked the doors. Sarah and Lily got into the back seat. The car was warm, comfortable. Lily and Noah started talking immediately, excited to see each other again. "Where to?" Ethan asked, looking in the rearview mirror. Sarah gave him the address. He didn't ask questions. He didn't comment on the neighborhood. He didn't show surprise when they stopped in front of the old worn building. He just stopped the car, waited for them to get out, and said, "Take care, and if you need a ride again, just let me know." Sarah nodded, grateful. She watched the car drive away and felt something strange in her chest. Something she hadn't felt in a long time. Comfort. In the second week, he showed up with groceries. He rang the doorbell of Sarah's apartment on Saturday morning. When she opened the door, he was holding 2 full grocery bags. "I bought too much at the market," he said with a calm smile. "It won't fit in my fridge. Can you keep this?" Sarah looked at the bags. She knew it was a lie. She knew he had bought it thinking of her, but it was a kind lie. A lie that preserved her dignity, a lie that didn't make her feel like charity. "Are you sure?" "I am. It will spoil if I keep it, and that would be a waste." She accepted the bags. They were heavy. When she put them on the kitchen table and opened them, she saw that there was rice, beans, pasta, oil, sugar, coffee, milk, eggs, fruit, vegetables, even some things she would never buy because they were too expensive. "Thank you," she said, her voice choked. "You're welcome. Let me know if you need anything else." In the third week, he fixed the kitchen sink faucet. Sarah had accidentally mentioned during a conversation that the faucet was leaking and she didn't have money to call a plumber. The next day, Ethan showed up with a toolbox. "Can I take a look?" "You don't have to do that." "I know, but I want to. Let me help." Sarah opened the door and let him in. Lily was excited to see Noah, and the 2 children ran to the bedroom to play. Ethan went straight to the sink. He opened the toolbox and started working. Sarah stood nearby, unsure what to do. Watching, he worked carefully, with attention to detail. "Done," he said after 20 minutes. "It should work now." He tested the faucet. It no longer leaked. "Is there anything else broken?" he asked, looking around. "There's the cupboard door that doesn't close properly, but you don't need to." "Let me see." He fixed the door. Then he changed a burnt-out light bulb in the hallway. Then he adjusted the window that wouldn't open completely. Sarah watched everything in silence. No one had ever done that for her. No one had ever helped without expecting anything in return, without making her feel inferior, without charging her later. "Thank you," she said when he finished. "Truly, you didn't have to do all this." "I know I didn't have to, but I wanted to." He put away his tools and looked at her. "When you need anything, just say so." "Seriously?" Sarah nodded, feeling her chest tighten. In the 4th week, he gave emotional support. Sarah was having a bad day, very bad. She had gone to 3 more job interviews and been rejected in all 3. One didn't even let her finish speaking. Another said she didn't have the right profile. The third simply said the position had already been filled. When she got home, she was exhausted, defeated, hopeless. Ethan was at the park with Noah when he saw Sarah and Lily walking by. He immediately noticed that something was wrong. The way she walked, the way she held Lily's hand, the way she looked at the ground. "Sarah?" She looked up, surprised. "Hi? Is everything okay?" Sarah tried to smile. "It is." But he saw the truth in her eyes. He saw the exhaustion. He saw the sadness. He saw the defeat. "Do you want to talk?" She hesitated, but then nodded. "Okay." They sat on a bench while the children played nearby. Sarah was silent for a few minutes, just looking at Lily. "Today was hard," she said finally. "What happened?" Sarah told him about the interviews, about the rejections, about how it was getting harder and harder to find work, about how she was starting to lose hope. Ethan listened to everything without interrupting, without judging, without giving unsolicited advice. He just listened. And sometimes, listening was the most important thing. "You will make it," he said when she finished. "I know you will. You don't know that." I do, because you are strong. You are resilient. You don't give up even when everything seems impossible. Sarah felt her eyes sting. Sometimes I want to give up. I know, but you won't. Because you have Lily, and you would do anything for her. Sarah nodded, wiping away a tear that escaped. That's true. She's the only reason I'm still standing, and that is more than enough. They sat in silence for a few minutes, and that was enough. Just being there, just not being alone, just having someone who understood. As the weeks went by, Sarah began to realize something. Ethan was different. He didn't demand anything. He didn't pressure her. He didn't make her feel obliged. He didn't ask for anything in return for his help. He just helped, gently, discreetly, without expecting recognition, without expecting excessive gratitude. After years of mistrusting everyone, after years with a closed heart, after years of believing that all men were the same, Sarah began to feel the barriers fall, little by little, slowly, but falling. She started to trust again, not completely. There was still fear. There were still deep scars. There were still moments when she recoiled. But there was also hope. Small, fragile, but real. Meanwhile, Lily and Noah became inseparable. They saw each other almost every day. They played together in the park. They drew together. They made up stories together. They had built a pure and strong friendship, the kind of friendship only children can have, without judgment, without prejudice, just true love. "Mommy, Noah is my best friend," Lily said one night before bed. "I know, my love. He's very nice, and his dad is nice too." Sarah smiled. "That's true. Do you like him, Mommy? Ethan?" Sarah was surprised by the question. "Why are you asking that?" "Because I think he likes you." Sarah felt her heart race. "What makes you think that?" "He always looks at you in a different way, and he always wants to help. Noah said his dad talks about you at home." Sarah didn't know how to answer. She just kissed her daughter's forehead. "Go to sleep, my love." It's late, but she stayed awake for hours after that conversation. Did Ethan like her, and more importantly, did she like him? The answer scared her, because it was yes. She did like him, more than she wanted to admit, more than it was safe to admit. But liking him was dangerous. Liking him meant opening up. It meant taking a risk. It meant being able to get hurt again. It meant giving someone the power to destroy her. And she didn't know if she was ready for that. But one thing was certain: life was changing. Ethan had entered their lives as a stranger who paid for a pie at the bakery, and now he was there, present, constant, careful, kind. He hadn't promised anything. He hadn't said empty words. He hadn't made grand declarations. He just showed it, every day, with small but significant actions, with simple but important gestures. And little by little, Sarah was starting to believe that maybe, just maybe, she could trust again. One night, after putting Lily to bed, Sarah sat by the apartment window. She looked at the city lights, at the starry sky, at the full moon that illuminated everything. And for the first time in years, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Life was changing, little by little, slowly, but it was changing. And Sarah, for the first time, wasn't afraid of it. She was still cautious. She was still careful. There were still moments of doubt, but she was allowing someone to come in. She was allowing someone to take care of her and Lily, and that was huge, because after everything she had been through, after all the pain, after all the disappointments, after all the trauma, she was choosing to believe again, not blindly, not naively, but consciously, carefully, with hope. And maybe this was the beginning of something new, something real, something worth risking. Sarah smiled to herself, feeling a peace she hadn't felt in years. Life was changing, and this time she was ready to let it. One morning, Ethan called Sarah. "Do you have time to talk today?" "I do. Why?" "I want to show you something. Can I pick you up in an hour?" Sarah hesitated but agreed. "Okay." When Ethan arrived, Sarah was nervous. She didn't know what to expect. Lily was at school, so she was alone. He drove downtown and stopped in front of an elegant but discreet commercial building. "What is this?" Sarah asked, looking out the window. "My company. Come with me." They went inside. The place was clean, organized, with people working in glass offices. There were plants on the desks, natural light coming through the large windows. The environment was professional but welcoming. Ethan took her to a small room on the second floor. He closed the door and pointed to a chair. "Sit down." Sarah sat down, curious and a little apprehensive. "What's going on?" "I have a proposal," he said, sitting in the chair next to her. "What kind of proposal?" "I need someone to work at the reception desk, answering phones, organizing documents, receiving clients, scheduling meetings, nothing too complicated. And I wanted to offer this position to you." Sarah was silent, processing. "Why me?" "Because you need it. Because you are competent. And because I trust you." Sarah shook her head. "Ethan, I can't accept charity." "It's not charity," he interrupted gently but firmly. "It's a real job, with a fixed salary, flexible hours for you to pick up Lily from school, a safe environment. You will actually work. You will have real responsibilities. I will hold you accountable just as I do any employee. It's not a favor. It's an opportunity." Sarah looked at her hands, emotional. She wanted to accept. She wanted so badly to accept, but the fear was still there. "What if I can't handle it?" "You will handle it. I know you will." "How can you be so sure?" "Because I know you. I know you are strong, dedicated, responsible. You raised Lily alone until now. If you manage to do that, you can do anything." Sarah felt her eyes sting. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes." She looked at him. There was sincerity in Ethan's eyes. There was no pity. There was no condescension. Just a genuine desire to help. Just respect. "Yes," she said finally, her voice shaking. "I accept." Ethan smiled, relieved. "Great. You start on Monday." Sarah started working the following Monday. She arrived early, nervous, wearing the most presentable outfit she had. Ethan introduced her to the other employees. Everyone was polite, welcoming. No one asked invasive questions. No one looked at her with pity. The job was simple, as he had promised. She answered phones politely, took messages, organized files alphabetically, received clients with a smile. Nothing she couldn't handle. The hours were flexible. She came in at 9 in the morning, left at 3 in the afternoon to pick up Lily from school. Ethan had organized everything, thinking of her reality. The environment was safe. People were respectful, polite. There was a kitchen with fresh coffee always available. There was a clean restroom. There was air conditioning in the summer and heating in the winter. Small comforts that Sarah hadn't had in a long time. And for the first time in months, Sarah had a fixed salary. At the end of the first month, she received her payment. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough. Much more than she had managed with the odd jobs. She held the envelope with trembling hands, almost not believing that it was real. The first thing she did was pay the overdue rent. 3 months late. The landlord was surprised and relieved when she showed up with the money. "I didn't expect to receive this anymore," he said, counting the bills. "I always pay my debts," Sarah replied with dignity. Sarah felt a huge weight lift from her shoulders. The threat of eviction had disappeared. Then she paid the electricity bill. The threat of cut-off disappeared too. Then she went to the market. For the first time in months, she didn't have to count every penny. She filled the cart with food: rice, beans, real meat, chicken, fresh fruit, vegetables, milk, eggs, bread, butter, coffee, sugar, everything she needed, and a little more. When she got home and started putting everything away in the pantry and the fridge, she stood there watching, almost crying. The pantry was full. The fridge was full. For the first time in months, she had enough food. She had security. "Mommy, there's so much stuff," Lily exclaimed, running into the kitchen when she saw the bags. "Are we rich?" Sarah laughed, hugging her daughter. "No, my love, but Mommy got a good job. And now we will always have food. Always, really." Always, really. Lily hugged her mother tightly. You are the best mom in the world. Sarah bought new clothes for Lily. Nothing expensive, but they were new. They smelled of the store. They had no patches. The little girl was delighted with the pink dress her mother chose, with the new shoes that didn't hurt her feet. I look so pretty, Mommy. You look beautiful, my love. The most beautiful girl in the world. Sarah also bought a few things for herself. Nothing extravagant, just the essentials. Clothes suitable for work. A pair of comfortable shoes. Hygiene products she had stopped buying. But it was nice to be able to buy without guilt, without fear, without desperation. Little by little, her self-esteem returned. She got ready for work every morning. She brushed her blonde hair carefully. She put on a subtle lipstick. She wore clean, well-cared-for clothes. She looked at herself in the mirror and saw a different person. She saw a woman who was getting back on her feet, who was starting to live again. She felt good about herself for the first time in a long time. And the best part of all, she felt safe again. Safe that she could pay the bills at the end of the month. Safe that Lily would have food on the table. Safe that the world wouldn't fall apart again. Safe that she had a future. Over time, the relationship between Sarah and Ethan grew. The friendship strengthened. They talked every day at work. They sometimes had lunch together in the company break room. They exchanged messages at night, talking about their children, about the day, about simple but important things. Respect grew. Sarah saw how Ethan treated his employees, how he was fair, polite, attentive, how he genuinely cared about the people around him, how he never used the power he had to humiliate or diminish anyone, and that made her admire him even more. Trust grew. Little by little, Sarah opened up more. She told him things about herself, about her old dreams of being an artist, about her fears of not being good enough, about her hopes for Lily's future. And Ethan listened to everything, without judging, without pressuring, without trying to fix everything immediately. The families began to socialize naturally. On Sundays, they took outings together. They went to the park to see the ducks in the lake, to the cinema to watch animated films that the children loved, to the zoo where Lily and Noah ran from cage to cage. Lily and Noah ran ahead, hand in hand, laughing, while Sarah and Ethan walked behind, talking about everything and nothing. Sometimes they had simple dinners. Ethan cooked at his house, making pasta and roasts that Noah loved. Or Sarah made something at her apartment, preparing homemade food, simple but made with care, nothing sophisticated. Just good food, laughter around the table, shared stories. Afternoons at the park became a tradition. Every Friday after work, they met at the square near the company. The children played on the swings, on the slide, ran after pigeons, while the adults talked sitting on a bench watching, sharing their week. Celebrations were shared, birthdays, holidays, special dates. They were always together. When Lily turned 6, Ethan helped organize a simple party. When Noah lost his first tooth, they all celebrated together. Lily and Noah became inseparable. They were best friends, practically siblings. They slept over at each other's houses on weekends. They shared toys without fighting much. They protected each other at school. They argued sometimes, but reconciled in minutes, because their friendship was stronger than any disagreement. Noah is my brother, Lily said once while drawing. He's your best friend, sweetie. No, Mommy. He's my brother. From the heart. Sarah smiled, touched, feeling her chest tighten with love. And then, Christmas arrived again. A whole year had passed since that day at the bakery. 1 year since Noah had held Sarah's hand and asked his father to pay for the pie. 1 year since everything had begun. This time, Christmas was different. Sarah and Lily went to spend Christmas Eve at Ethan's house. The table was plentiful but not excessive. There was roast turkey, seasoned rice, fresh salads, warm bread, homemade desserts, and in the center of the table, a pie, a simple pie, decorated with a whipped cream snowman. I ordered the same pie, Ethan said, smiling. From the same bakery, to remember where everything started. Sarah felt her eyes sting. Thank you for everything. For this whole year. Thank you for trusting me. After dinner, Lily and Noah asked to decorate the pie together. Ethan and Sarah agreed, laughing. The children went to the kitchen, putting on aprons, laughing, purposely making a mess, adding more whipped cream and colored sprinkles everywhere. Sarah and Ethan stayed in the living room, watching through the kitchen door. "A year ago, I never imagined I'd be here," Sarah said softly. "Me neither. You changed my life, Ethan. Our life, mine and Lily's. I can never thank you enough." "You don't need to thank me. I did it because I wanted to, because you deserved it, because Lily deserved it." Sarah looked at him. Ethan was beside her, watching the children with a smile on his face. There was something in his eyes, something she had seen grow over the last few months, something she also felt growing inside her, but was still a little afraid to fully name. He turned to her. Their eyes met. "Sarah, I need to tell you something." Her heart raced. "What?" I fell in love with you. I don't know exactly when it happened. Maybe since the beginning. Maybe little by little, day after day, but it happened, and I can't pretend I don't feel it anymore." Sarah was speechless. She wanted to respond, but the words wouldn't come out. Ethan continued, his voice gentle but firm. "I'm not asking for anything. I'm not pressuring you. I'm not asking for anything in return for everything I've done. I just wanted you to know the truth, and when you're ready, if you ever are, I'll be here waiting." Sarah felt the tears fall, but this time, they weren't tears of sadness or fear. They were tears of relief, of healing, of hope, of love. "I fell in love with you too," she whispered, her voice shaking. Ethan smiled. He slowly raised his hand, giving her time to pull back if she wanted to, and held her hand. Sarah didn't pull away. She didn't recoil. She just held back, intertwining their fingers. They stayed like that for a few minutes, holding hands, in silence, while the children laughed in the kitchen, decorating the pie that symbolized the beginning of everything. "Done!" Lily shouted from the kitchen. "We finished!" The children carefully brought the pie into the living room. It was covered in whipped cream, with colorful sprinkles scattered everywhere, some falling down the sides. It was a beautiful mess, but it was perfect. "It looks perfect," Ethan said. "It really does," Sarah agreed, smiling through her tears. They ate the pie together, the four of them, like a family, laughing, talking, making plans for the new year that was coming. Later, when the children fell asleep on the sofa, hugged together, covered with a soft blanket, Sarah and Ethan sat side by side, watching in silence. "A year ago," Sarah said softly, "I had nothing. I had no hope. I had no future. I only had fear and a daughter to protect. And now I have everything. I have a job. I have dignity. I have security. I have you. I have a real family." Ethan squeezed her hand. "We built this together." "No. You built it for me. You gave me a chance when no one else did. You believed in me when I no longer believed in myself. You deserved the chance. You always deserved it." Sarah leaned her head on his shoulder. Ethan put his arm around her, pulling her close, and they stayed like that, together, complete, at peace. One act of kindness had changed everything. A 5-year-old boy who asked his father to help a stranger. A father who listened to his son's heart and acted. A mother who accepted the help even with all her fear. A little girl who gained a friend, an extended family, a better life. Destinies had been changed. Deep wounds had been healed. 2 broken families had been connected and healed together, forever. And it all started with a pie. A simple Christmas pie that almost didn't happen, but which changed everything. Forever. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.